Happy New Year, everybody. I just want to swap out some hoses here that finally came in. We got some off-road Gorilla hoses. It's a blue silicone hose that is, you can get stock sizes through Off-Road Gorilla, or you can get sizes that are intended for trucks with body lifts. This truck has a 3-inch body lift, so I went with the extended hose. It's actually kind of a waste because you end up with a lot of leftover, and it looks good, but what am I going to do with this? There's really not much. There's not a lot of places where it can go. So I got that, but the main concern that I have today is that I've gone through 3 lower radiator hoses for this truck, trying to find the right one that fits. And the one that's in there now is for a Xterra, but it's nowhere really near where it needs to be. It fits, but it's kind of kinked, and it's too close to the tensioner pulley for the power steering pump. That doesn't make me very happy. So I went back into the catalog and I dredged up this lower radiator hose. So you got the lower radiator hose here, this union pipe, and this is what comes off the thermostat housing. This is probably going to solve my problem. I hope. This book on this truck is still being written, and I can tell you this much, that the amount of times I have to do and redo things is actually kind of silly, because it didn't go exactly the way I thought it would the first time. Not only that, but I actually had to go and get clamps, the right size clamps and everything. So, yeah. So in case you guys thought that I was going to start and run this thing for New Year's, I'm sorry. We're still way off from that. But the good news is that the list does appear to be getting shorter, and I can get on some more fun things, like actually getting it out of the barn and running it, which I think would be awesome. I think I'd love that, but we're going to pull this lower radiator hose off. And I'll show you the difference between the two here in a second. I just need to get it off the truck. Yeah, I don't know what the listing in AutoZone is all about. That doesn't really show you the right stuff. It gives you a hose for an Xterra, and you can even choose supercharged, because that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a supercharged Xterra engine. You don't want to go with the Pathfinder, because for some reason that hose is not even remotely close. I don't know why, but it is not even remotely close to what we need. So I went with the Xterra. That was wrong, and now I went with another Xterra, and this one seems to be, so far, correct. I just got to get this clamp undone here. I went with constant torque clamps, because if you put a regular clamp on a silicone hose, the silicone hose will squeeze through the little slots, and it'll cut the hose, and then you got a crappy hose. So the constant torque clamps are flat all the way around them, and they have washers that take up any remaining slack. so they won't back off. So I'll show you this here in a second. Let me just get this off right here. So this is the hose that AutoZone originally sold me. 71516 is the part number, and according to all catalogs online, this fits an Xterra. According to my findings, yes it does, but it doesn't at the same time. So you go a little further into the catalog, you come up with a 22478, which starts at this spot right here where this curve starts and goes down. You can see, I'll orient them so they're the same. This is how they're supposed to be. I don't know if you can see that. One Xterra, close but no cigar. We're going to give this one a shot and see what happens. And to show you the constant torque clamp here, this is a constant torque clamp. And as you can see on the inside of it, there's no ridges on the inside. So when you're tightening it down around a silicone hose, the slots are on the outside, the hose doesn't squeeze through the slots. It's not really so much of a problem with rubber hose, but with silicone hose like the off-road Gorilla hose, it can be a problem. So yeah, I'll tell you, I'm glad I took notes. The book for this truck is just getting absolutely silly at this point. I'm really kind of like thinking to myself that if something breaks, I'm not even going to know where to start. So it's going to be like I built myself into a corner. But we're going to get this shoehorned in here now. Oops. You don't drop stuff. Other people are at Times Square partying. There's people out there doing whatever. And here I am in my shop doing this. You know what would be easier? It might not be easier. Oh yeah, I'm boxing myself into a corner again. So how's everybody else's new year going so far? You guys working on projects? No, you're watching me. I can tell you a little story here. I was on Facebook, regrettably, and I saw a post about axle swapping on a two-wheel drive truck. Something that I've done specifically. I have done this, so I know. And I offered a little bit of advice, just a little bit of advice, not a lot, just enough. And they laughed. Instead of like saying, hey, thank you, or hey, I didn't even think about that, or whatever, they LOL'd, and they thought I was crazy. They looked at me like I was crazy, I guess. The funny thing is that this has happened to me before when I offered my advice from my experience on places like Facebook. 2 weeks later, you get a friend's request from that person, and they tell you that they ran into exactly what I ran into, and then they're asking for advice on what I did to solve the problem. And I have to laugh. In circumstances like that, I have to laugh. So there's my other constant torque clamp. You can see that there's stacked washers on these. That's designed to keep this from backing off under heavy duty conditions. These are actually used on like fleet trucks and you know, big rigs and stuff. But I'm using them on an Xterra powered Pathfinder. I don't really see what the problem would be. I think it's kind of cool. So I bought a bunch of these too. They're expensive. These little fuckers. Even with my former employee discount, these little fuckers were like $5 a piece. So yeah, I figured I'd do a little bit more live stuff. Try and get a couple extra dollars here in the coffers, because Lord knows we're gonna need money when this economy goes to shit. So, let's tip this down a little bit. I don't know how bad or how good it's gonna stay. It may stay, it may not stay. As you can see, supercharger. So, seems like the gravity in the shop today is a little high. Hardly any room in here. That fits a lot better. I like that a lot better. Yeah, there's a 12mm bolt attached. Alright, cool. I'll go with the crooked camera angle. I'm sorry. I'm hoping that someday I don't have to go and punch in at a job anymore. Kind of grew a little tired of work, as they say. In the traditional sense. Passive income is good. That seems to be the theme that everybody talks about nowadays. Passive income. I'm perfectly good with. I'll take passive income all day long. This channel does make a couple dollars, not anything insane. We need something liquidy. Soap and water. These hoses are tight. So that'll get it though. I'll show you guys what I'm doing here in a second. I just don't want to, I can't hold the camera and do this at the same time. Just too much. But with the lower radiator hose is just about done. And the only thing I have left is the heater core. But before I do the heater core, I want to flush it. I don't like the idea of running new this engine with the heater core in the condition that it's in. tight fit down here, I'll tell you that much. For anyone notice that half of John Lennon's songs are about going to sleep or taking a nap or waking up late? Then you notice that when he was doing his protests against poverty and Vietnam War and all that stuff, that he did it from bed, like he was sleeping in. Just not suggesting anything by it, just saying I kind of noticed it. It's kind of funny. A man who likes to sleep. So, this looks actually kind of badass. I just gotta find a 12mm bolt now that I can attach this to the front cover with, and then I'll show you guys. I gotta angle these clamps. I don't want to have them not be lined up. I want them facing outward and looking their best. As well, Freiberger says, don't worry about how it looks, get it running. If I'm already in here and it takes 30 extra seconds to line the clamps up to make them look better, I will take that extra moment to do it and get it good. And I think that this radiator hose is going to be my ticket to win here. That's what I think. I just got to find a nice, pretty 12mm bolt. Which I may have one in here. Like that. I think this will work. This camera's just falling down. Yeah, that's great. I will leave it like that. I'll just tip it down. There you go. There you go. There you go, kids. Now you can see what the hell I'm doing. Yeah. And this will secure it so it doesn't bounce around. That'll work. 12mm socket. Best of luck to me. I don't know where the hell all my sockets are. I'm at the point now where I'm just thinking about just buying all new sockets. A whole new socket set. And just calling it a day. I think that'd probably be best. What? Perfect. All right, now I can show you guys some stuff. Yikes. Let me flip this around real quick. All right. This is the off-road Gorilla upper radiator hose for vehicles with body lifts. This truck has a 3-inch lift, and as a result, it would not, the hose, the original OEM hose would be just short enough to not reach. Now, they give you a lot of excess. As I showed in the beginning of the video here, the hose shows up looking roughly about that long, which is a little overkill. I don't know how much of a body lift they think these people are going to put on their trucks, but you end up cutting off at least half the hose, so you're left with some silicone hose. The advantage of this is that with it being silicone, it's a little more flexible than rubber hose, but you have to use specific clamps. You can't just use a regular clamp. As I showed you before, you can't just use a regular worm clamp. You have to use one that's smooth all the way in the inside. And that's what we did here. We've got constant torque clamps here and here. And the way I have them positioned is you can still reach the bolts here and loosen it as you need to. But if you're looking at it from like here, it just looks like stainless steel bands. But for the last 20 minutes that I've been online, this is what I've been messing with down here. Let me get a light down there. This is the thermostat housing. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Actually hit the button. Okay, let's go down here. So down here is this clamp right here where this I'm pointing right here. And inside behind that is the thermostat housing. That's here. That's the thermostat housing is in here. And this hose comes out and goes into this intermediate pipe and then comes out and then goes down to the radiator itself. So I've got constant torque clamps in position here, and that 12 millimeter bolt that I was looking for went right here, which holds this pipe to the front mounting bracket here that holds the power steering pump. So from a distance, that's how that all looks. Give me a second here. Oh, and to finish up the story about the 2 weeks, and then somebody sends you a friend's request asking you how you did it. I very rarely reply, just because I think it's ridiculous that they don't know, they don't have the amount of respect to be like, oh, you know, at least be like, thank you, I'll take it under advisement, even if you don't believe me. But anyways, yeah, they'll contact me in 2 weeks, and it'll just be me going, oh, no, sorry, we're done here. So lower radiator hoses in place, everything's bolted in. Upper radiator hose is in place, everything is bolted in. I got 2 brass fittings here to replace the crappy plastic fittings in this air snorkel here. One is, they're both 3/8 pipe, but one is 1/2 inch, the other one is 5/8. As you can see, I modified and replaced the idle air control motor back there, and normally there would be a pipe that comes up and then there's a short hose that goes into here, but because that is a VG30E idle air control motor, the pipe is no longer accessible that way, so I removed it and I went with just straight hose. Obviously, I'm going to take advantage of these mounting bolts here to put a clamp, 2 P-clamps of some kind, to keep this thing from just kind of laying around in there. That's going to be part of the fine tuning. This is for the positive crankcase ventilation system, just factory location. And the nice thing about silicone is that it doesn't kink as easily when you put a little bit of a curve onto it. So those are all in place. Also, I got the coolant hose, which I probably already went over last time. The coolant hose that comes up from the back of the block. There's a fitting back there right above the transmission. This coolant hose has now been installed, so we're all good there. My concerns before I put any coolant in the system is looking inside the core support here, or not the core support, the heater core itself. This is the original heater core for the Pathfinder, and I think the guy ran either stop leak through it or that's all rust, who knows. But I think there's stop leak in there. I don't want stop leak going through this engine, and I don't want to pull the heater core out. So to flush it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a garden hose and cut it in half and just plug both ends onto this thing and clamp it, and then just run water through it and leave the hoses out of the truck, like outside of the barn, and just run the water through it that way. That way I don't worry about cleanup inside the barn of all the water that would be coming through with that stuff. So I'm going to have to order a cheap 1/2 inch garden hose and cut it in half and slide the ends onto this and then run them outside the barn and then just spray water through it, and it'll never drip of water in here. I don't want water in the barn. That's pretty much all of that, which is pretty damn, we are close. All I can say is I feel very close to being able to start this thing. I have one clamp here. This clamp is a piece of crap. Excuse me, jeez. This clamp here, piece of garbage. You can see because the whole air hose can easily move. It's not securing. It's like the teeth are stripping out on it. So I'm not gonna worry about that for the moment. I'll probably get a turbo clamp of some kind and throw it on there, or at least a charge air cooler hose clamp, and do that. And then I can fill the cooling system. And once I'm done filling the cooling system, then I'll feel a little bit more confident that it might start better because it'll actually read a coolant temp as opposed to just dead air. The idle air control motor, I still have to wire that in. I've been a little lazy lately on that. I will get to that. I wanted to get hoses done, and then I can move to wires. I like to work in topics. So if I'm working on hoses, we're doing hoses. If I'm working on wires, then we're doing wires. So we'll get to that. And then I will want to pull the fuel pump out of the tank back here and actually probably drain whatever crap is left back here. This has been sitting for a long time, but there's not a lot in here. As a matter of fact, we put half a gallon or so in it back in May to get it to run, and I haven't put anything else in it. But it was ethanol fuel, and I don't want to run ethanol fuel through this thing at all. So I want to pull the sending unit, replace the pump. I've got a high volume pump in one of these boxes here somewhere. Who knows? Shit everywhere. I'll replace the pump. Probably replace the sock while I'm in there too. And then the fuel system will be ready to go. I just got to finish plumbing the evap. Get that finished. And the plumbing for the fuel will be done. The plumbing for the coolant will be done. All the sensors will be plugged in except for the O2 sensor. This Y pipe right here, I got to drill and weld in a bung on that so it can read the O2 levels. And then I'll have to work on getting the O2 or getting the exhaust system put in place. So that will be another challenge. But on the good news here, Mr. Hobart has come home. Mr. Hobart was working over at Justin's house for the last 4 years as well. I bought it, and I had it over at the old shop in Bristol, and then I lost that shop. Y'all remember those videos? You can go back in the day and see how far I've come from that point. But Mr. Hobart went straight to Justin's house and has built quite a few projects in its time, but was getting neglected. And of course, I'm not always over at Justin's house, so I'm not getting better at welding. I'm not getting the full use of my machine. So it was decided that when this truck came from his house here, that I would also grab that. And I ordered a new regulator because this regulator is not trustworthy. This thing did take a spill. It was an accident, but it did take a spill, and I couldn't trust the readings. The tanks, we couldn't tell if the tanks were full or empty. It just didn't seem like the gauges were working anymore. So I did order a new regulator. I got a new nozzle tip on it, and I just added a 10-pound roll of wire. So we got 10 pounds of 035 in here, and the only thing left that I got to do to get that actually fully ready to rock and roll is I've got two peanut tanks down here that I got to take over to the welding place and have refilled, so I can do that. And one of the tanks is smaller than the other, which is really crappy, so I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't do that. I didn't do it. They used up the gas, and somebody went out and got a tank of gas, and I guess I'll deal with it when the time comes. I also added a really nice battery jump box here. My company has said that if you do training at home at night, they would pay you in gift cards. And I did a whole crap ton of training and used all the gift cards to get this. So this didn't cost me one penny. It just made me smarter and came free, uh, and all that. Um, yeah, there's the money shot. There she is, looking at pictures of it from like this era here, where it was barely anything. It really wasn't anything at that moment in time. It just kind of, yeah, no core support, no nothing. So, and then we're at this point here, which I'm very proud of. And so, I think I'm done for the evening. I got that lower radiator hose in there. That's good. Um, yeah. So, let's see if there's any chats here that we need to do. Let's see what we got. Okay, doesn't look like there's any. I've got no chat messages, so there's nothing for me to read back. I'm gonna go inside and enjoy my Happy New Year here. I have another video that I'm gonna upload. I actually had somebody stop by from out of town to go on a journey with to look for a car, which we did find the car. We just couldn't find the owner, and he brought up his '97 hard body king cab auto 2-wheel drive, and it's a cool truck, and he's a cool guy, another Nissan guy, close to me in town, or well, not really in town, but close enough that if we wanted to do a Nissan meet of some kind, that it would be completely and totally possible. So I'll post that video up here in a little while. But until then, I just want to thank everybody for 2022. And always like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully 2023 we can actually roll this bird out of the shop under its own power, take it up the road and back, and then flesh it out. I want to build off the front of it here. I want to build a winch mount with some kind of grill guard attached to it using, hardened steel. I'll weld it up myself, build it myself. And I do have to finish making the flatbed. I do have to finish fleshing out the flatbed part here. I want to have so there's a floor so it could actually be used as a truck. I got to get the interior back together. That is not very complete at this moment in time. Lots of stuff to get bolted down. I got gauges I got to finish installing, and I removed, I don't know why now, but I removed the driver's side front shock absorber, and I have not put it back in. The passenger side is still in there. I think I'm going to just replace both sides, but you can't really drive it with no shock. I mean, I guess you could if you really, if you're just doing a test drive, but I don't want to wreck stuff. And then, once I'm driving it and I'm comfortable with it and everything, then we'll do a steering rebuild. We'll get all the steering linkage replaced. We'll get the truck aligned, and then we'll probably go and do a suspension lift on top of the body lift, front and rear, rebush it, because they all seem to need that. And this will all be over time. I'm not going to immediately do all this right after getting it to run, because I want to be able to enjoy it for a little bit. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll do another one of these maybe in another day or so. I'd like to get more involved in doing some more live chat stuff. It seems to be a decent way to make some money. Sailor Boy says he got his engine rebuilt. Awesome. How is it? I hope it's good. As you can see, mine is still not running. Well, it'll run. Won't run for very long, and it runs like crap. But then again, the last time I tried to start it, we were missing a whole lot of sensors. And in case anybody wants a good laugh, here's what's funny. The Y-pipe spout is on the driver's side underneath the driver's seat. That's where both collectors come together and go out from the back of the truck. That's where the O2 sensor is located. Where do you think the O2 sensor connector is located in the harness? Anyone? Oh, well, it's in a convenient location. It's over here on the passenger side fender over where the battery would be. Because that makes the most amount of sense, is to run a 30-foot wire up, back, behind the engine, and down. So, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, helpful Ben. Um, the, just lovely, There's no spots for that to wear through or have any problems or lose, resistance or whatever over time. But here's the connector for the O2 sensor right here. This guy right here I'm pointing at. This 3-pinner. Right front corner, all the way over, down, and back. So, and in case anybody is wondering who was tuning in, Off-Road Gorilla provided the upper radiator hose. The reason I went that route is because the factory hose no longer reaches because of the body lift. With a 3-inch body lift, you need just a little bit more hose. Off-Road Gorilla offers a body lift upper radiator hose that comes at about this length here, and you cut and trim it as you need it. And it's kind of a waste because you end up trimming like most of it off and you're left with that. I was able to use a 2004 Xterra lower radiator hose. This is a Pathfinder radiator. There really isn't much difference, but just in case you want to know, this is a Pathfinder radiator. I'm going to a Xterra lower radiator hose, going to the intermediate hose. I'm using constant torque clamps everywhere I can. Didn't really need to on the rubber hoses, but you really need to on the silicone hoses as well. Well, in addition to getting the radiator hoses plumbed, the idle air control valve is now plumbed. I used brass fittings to replace the crappy plastic ones, and we're using silicone hose for the PCV system. That's PCV. That's idle air control. We got that done, and I've got the cooling system plumbed back to right behind it and just above the transmission, so the throttle body will get its water or coolant the way it's supposed to, and the bleed port is right there. So you do want to have that. You don't want to eliminate that. The only thing I have left for the cooling system is, as I said a couple minutes ago, the heater core looks like crap. I'm going to run a garden hose and hook it up to both ends and just run the garden hose outside so it doesn't like drip water in here. I don't want to roll this thing all the way outside just to flush the cooling system or flush the heater core and then push it back in. I'd rather just take a garden hose and just do it since it's right there. And then when I'm done, the hoses are already in place here that I can just plug those in. This hose right here and this hose right next to it. Those are the heater core hoses. I'll just plug those in and clamp them, and then we can put coolant in this thing. And then we'll have coolant, we'll have fuel, we'll have air, we'll have sensors, we have ignition. And what I'll probably end up doing is getting my fire extinguisher handy, pushing this thing outside, and then trying to start it while it's outside. So if it decides to blow up or catch fire because I missed something, or just catch fire because it wasn't supposed to exist in the first place, no idea. But I can tell you this much, that it will be outside, and we'll crank it and we'll make sure we get her to run longer than 15 seconds. And if I can do that, then my next goal will be to finish welding the shifter into position so it can actually be shifted, put the interior back in as much as I can, or as much as is necessary to at least do a test drive, and then we'll take her up and down the road a couple times just to see how it goes. It should be just totally awesome. It should be totally badass. I'm excited about it. We're so close. This project started in 2017. I bought the Pathfinder damaged in 2017, and now it's 2022 going on 2023. This is where we're at. The cab was actually purchased in 2013, so if you want to really count it, the project's been going on for almost a decade. So yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna go inside and enjoy my Happy New Year. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, which is pounding_rocks. Now I changed it. And also be sure to look for Water Street Decals on Facebook. I've been doing a lot of decal business. And maybe I can make something for you guys. I've been doing a lot of tailgate decals for the hard bodies, a lot of trim package decals, and mailbox decals. And it seems to be taking off pretty good. And as I said, I would love to be able to quit my day job sometimes, and you guys can help me achieve that. So leave me a message down below. Thank you. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2023. Bye now.